This is Ms. Austin's third time on paternity court. She's no stranger to proving her children's paternity to Mr. Wallace, who once again has doubts that her 9-month-old son is his. Mind you, she's pregnant with a third child by him, and she and Mr. Wallace aren't even together. It's a crazy case, and here is how it begins.
Since the last time we was here, everything started out okay. Wallace was still bouncing back from me. I had enrolled in school, but I never did go because I had got pregnant once again with my third baby.
Seems like these three are in a polyamorous relationship and don't even know it. Two women taking turns getting pregnant for one man is just so silly. And every single time this happens, Mr. Wallace doubts he is responsible for the pregnancies. Why then is he messing around with women he doesn't trust?
Is your child if you've been having babies with both of these women?
When we was together, I had installed like spyware on her phone. And again, for about the 5th, 6th time, I called her texting different men. You saying that didn't happen?
Where your proof at? I never saw it.
Didn't see that one coming? If he truly believes she's promiscuous, why does he keep having children with her? One child wasn't enough, so you had a second, and now there's a third on the way. Yet, you call her a slut. The same woman who might soon be the mother of 3 of your kids? How does that even make sense?
If I'm dead, so why you keep on sleeping with me? Why?
So
Why
now,
do you keep allowing me to sleep
I'm
with
gonna
you?
keep on just because I know that you with her.
It was somebody else,
Yes,
man,
you
then
do.
you got low
You, I know you're not talking.
Ladies,
I know you
guys want to hear the
Okay, this is serious. Ms. Austin's question is very valid. Why did he keep sleeping with her if she thought she was promiscuous? And why on earth is his girlfriend, Ms. Roberts, so mad? Was she really going to hit her in front of a judge?
at the end of the day, you all can see now that 2 wrongs never make a right? Because you were wrong for going back and forth between the 2 women, and then you were wrong for being pregnant and talking to other men and expecting him to then believe your child is his child automatically.
Cheating on your partner is no payback for their infidelity? It will cost you 2 at the end of the day, as we can see with Ms. Austin and Mr. Wallace. 3 potential babies together, yet they don't see eye to eye. What a terrible situation.
They have the same chin.
Walk me through what these pieces of evidence are. The first piece is,
A chin.
so you say their feet are alike,
Yeah.
but they don't change your mind.
No, ma'am. It's just like you go to a police lineup. They put you in there with 6 other men who look just like you.
Really? His feet and chin? Those are the features you chose to compare? It's valid, but kind of funny. At the end of the day, though, as Mr. Wallace said, it's not really about the looks, is it?
He wanted us to be back a family. I do everything for him. I stood by his side when he had his apartment. He went through a lot. Every day he leaves me. Like, what more could I do?
That's because you always have other men.
No.
You can't but feel pity for Ms. Austin. She loves this man, yet he keeps treating her like trash and walking away every time. This information, and the fact that they have been here 3 times, shows how irresponsible the man is. It is such a shame.
He took.
So wait, is he there living or is he there visiting?
Yeah, he was there living.
Okay, go ahead.
He leaves my house and goes spends the night out at Kendrick's house.
When you just broke down a moment ago, I felt for you because that desperately is trying to have a relationship with somebody that
These women are at fault too, letting Mr. Wallace waltz in and out of their lives whenever he pleases. If none of them stands up to put an end to this mess, they might just find themselves on paternity court for a 4th time.
it's determined today that Mr. Wallace is Ronell's father. Is that what you're hoping?
Yes.
And Mr. Wallace, what are you hoping for today? You feel agitated?
Yes.
Tell me.
Because of the bull crap performance she put on.
Whoa, that explosion was unexpected. Mr. Wallace insists Ms. Austin is putting on a show and Judge Lauren is falling for it. He's angry because the judge is taking her side. This is a whole new level of reaction.
I'm taking anybody's side. I'm asking them questions that need to be asked. Now, we're gonna get you these results because you came here because you wanted to know, right?
Yes.
Are you Ronell's father?
Great. Let's find out what the DNA results say and put an end to this drama.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Wallace, you are Ronell's father.
Ms. Moore insists that the only reason Mr. Butler is denying paternity is due to pressure from his manipulative wife. However, Mr. Butler argues that Ms. Moore has told him multiple times in the past that he isn't the father and is only claiming otherwise now because she wants to rekindle their relationship.
Mr. Butler, you obviously have doubts.
Yes, Your Honor.
What are those doubts?
She told me I'm not the baby daddy.
What happened? How did that conversation happen?
It's happened because she told me I'm not the dad. She told me I'm not the father.
Why
and
would she tell you that?
The baby don't even look like me.
Ms. Moore admits she told him he wasn't her baby daddy, but it was only because his wife had been harassing her. Is she saying she was pressured into lying or what? Let's see what Mr. Butler's wife, Ms. Harrison, has to say.
That part.
Your Honor, I was getting my hair done. I was getting my hair done at one particular time when she was on the phone. He had her on speaker, and she told him, "You're not the dad. You don't have to do nothing for this baby."
Okay, what's Ms. Moore on about? She has said on numerous occasions that the baby is not Mr. Butler's child. In these texts, she implied that the child belonged to her fiancé and that he was doing a better job taking care of her and the baby than Mr. Butler was. And the baby will call this fiancé dad and not Mr. Butler.
I was 7.5 weeks, December 11th.
Okay, but you would not have had your baby.
Do you believe it? You married it, you tell me.
Ms. Moore, Ms. Harrison. It's classic, right, Jerome?
Not these women yelling at each other, while Mr. Butler just stands there, silent. Shouldn't they be directing their frustration at him? After all, Ms. Moore is here to contest paternity with Mr. Butler, not his wife. Can she step aside for a moment so we can get to the real issue and resolve this faster?
When I got pregnant, I had left. Quincy was doing so much cheating, and his last baby is 2 weeks apart. I found that out. I found that out on his cell phone, and I found it out because he had his last girlfriends.
Ms. Harrison's major argument is that Ms. Moore's supposed conception and delivery date don't add up, but Ms. Moore had an emergency C-section, and honestly, it's tiring that she has to prove herself to Ms. Harrison and not Mr. Butler. The man has barely even said a thing.
He is a leech, and his so-called wife told me that over the phone. It's always, if I call Quincy, it's always her.
Because
and I
I'm
feel
his
like
wife and
I
it's
don't
one,
care.
one, one,
But
one.
that doesn't make sense though. I'm his baby mother, not you. I didn't make no baby with you.
Wow. Seems like Mr. Butler is Ms. Harrison's puppet. She claims that because she's the one with the money, it's only right that she's very involved in this paternity issue. She's even okay with paying child support if the baby's proven to be Mr. Butler's child. Isn't that fantastic news for Ms. Moore?
Mr. Butler, do you remember having this conversation with
No, I
Ms.
didn't. No,
You
I
never
didn't.
did?
No.
So, what facts? That Ms. Moore was sleeping with anybody else but you at the time?
Another dude. That's all I can say.
What? Who is the other?
If they keep going on like this, they'll make this longer than it's supposed to be. Mr. Butler denies that he ever promised to take care of the child, and Ms. Harrison pops in with gossip about a friend claiming Ms. Moore was cheating. Why is nobody talking about how weird it is for Mr. Butler to have a wife and a girlfriend, and his wife's anger is directed at the girlfriend?
When I got out the hospital, I called Mr. Butler. He do not answer his phone. I call him again. He do not answer in his phone.
She never told me that, Your Honor, so at the end of the day,
Oh, he speaks. Ms. Moore claims she waited a bit after her baby's birth to tell Mr. Butler because she didn't trust him with the child and wanted to be present when he met the baby. But when she finally made the call, she says Mr. Butler didn't answer. Mr. Butler, however, has a different take on it. He says she never called at all.
The other reason is the baby doesn't carry his last name. She's never shown him the birth certificate.
There may be another man listed on the birth certificate.
I never seen that birth certificate the day of my life.
Right
I
here.
asked her about it.
Here you go.
Mrs. Harrison is convinced the baby is for Ms. Moore's fiancé because he was present throughout the pregnancy and is still present now. Also, Ms. Moore had never shown them whose name was written on the birth certificate. It's now been confirmed that the space is blank, though.
Recently, he sent his other auntie, which is his mama's sister, to Victorville as a DNA test. I don't know how, she didn't swab or nothing. I guess it's just eye vision. She come up there and say, well, I gotta tell you this, taking pictures of my baby and all of that.
To be honest, we can see the resemblance too. But if there's one thing you learn from paternity court, it's that the DNA results are the only thing you can truly trust. Like they say, looks can be deceiving.
This is the man you believe is
Might be.
Samara's father?
Might be.
I pray to God and I wish that Quincy have never been. That never
'Cause they
been.
keep me
so
away
as far
from that.
as calling my fiance dad,
At this point, Baby is her fiancé's. The man has acted more like a father than Mr. Butler ever has. But why did he even go over to stay at Ms. Moore's 2 weeks before? Was it because he felt a fatherly connection to the child? Or was he just running away from his wife?
Are these things that you feel like, is your wife kind of egging these thoughts on? Or are these your independent thoughts?
My own thoughts.
So now my last question is, if these thoughts are true, when you get into an altercation with your wife, why do you run to Miss Moore's house?
Not sure if his reason is valid. But the results are here, so let's end this back and forth and find out if he's the father.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Butler,
Yes, ma'am.
you are her father.
Mr. Buchanan has a history of women lying to him about paternity, so it's no wonder he doesn't trust that his girlfriend's 6-month-old daughter is his, especially since she had an affair with his best friend. Ms. Stembridge argues that it's this past experience that's fueling his doubts.
And told me that, she was under a lot of stress when I was locked up, while I was locked up, which is breaking the brother code. I don't care if it's a supermodel. You ain't drinking with somebody that's supposed to be my best friend. You had the right to say no.
While Mr. Buchanan was locked up, Ms. Stembridge and his best friend had a few drinks, and this pisses Mr. Buchanan off because he knows that their drinking would have transpired into something else, like sleeping together. In addition, he heard that the two of them were sneaking around while he was away.
Oh, I need to check my girl? Why I need to check my girl? Nah, you need to check your girl. She was laid up in your best friend's bed, laid up there sideways in some booty shorts and a spaghetti strap.
What?
No.
Wait, wait a minute, and you have witness to that?
Ms. Stembridge really brought the clothes to court? These people are hilarious. Instead of denying the allegations that she'd been cuddling up in bed with her boyfriend's best friend, she's trying to prove that her outfit wasn't inappropriate.
When I walked in, all I saw was.
Let's use better language in the court. You walked in and saw what? Come up and show me. You have a diagram here. What did you see?
I walked in. This is the door to Eric's room. I walked in, standing right there.
Nope, that's a lie, Your Honor.
Ms. McNeil has a whole diagram to show how she found Ms. Stembridge on this guy's bed. Isn't that funny and a little suspicious? First off, she made a diagram for this, and she's clearly way too invested in her ex's relationship. And also, is anyone else noticing how Ms. Stembridge has barely been asked a question or given a chance to speak? Feels a bit off, doesn't it?
You have no recollection of her even being in the house.
No, and this was during the daytime because she called, she called. So why would I be bending over to bed like that?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe because it took me a little longer to get there and you had more than 2 shots.
Maybe because she still wants him.
You don't remember.
No.
If given the chance, these women will tear into each other, but no one's even talking about the baby. It really feels like this case is more about Mr. Buchanan and his girlfriend's drama than it is about the paternity of his supposed child.
2 weeks later and she's pregnant. We took 3 of them. They all came back saying there's something growing in there, all right? Look at that. I'm gonna tell you what, I love that little girl. I'm the father. Financially, physically, mentally, I take care of that child.
Under Mr. Buchanan's funny facade is a man who genuinely cares about his girl and child. He's hurt that he was cheated on, especially considering he had been wrongfully locked up and it was with his best friend. Despite all that, he's still a present dad and loves the baby no matter what.
Hopes are granted. She's yours.
She loves me to death, man.
He's a great father.
That baby
little
has to
girl,
have
Your
me
Honor.
every night. That baby will not go to sleep unless she has me laying in that bed with her.
If she's not your biological daughter, what will you do?
If it ain't mine, she gonna have to get a good lawyer is all I got to say.
Well, we hope he doesn't have to fight for the baby. But before we get to the results, let's see how these two women solve their own fight.
I put you and that baby at 6 months underneath a roof.
Yes, but look what
under
I'm
my
having to
care.
deal with. That's what she just said. While I was pregnant, you were trying to move with her. Ain't that what you
Yeah,
said?
he was gonna
See?
come get away from
See?
you.
Oh, these women are crazy. Mr. Buchanan sure has a lot on his plate. There's no more time to waste. Let's get to the results already.
Mr. Buchanan, you are her father.
Thank you.
That's a blessing.
Ms. Brown claims that her baby is a result of the affair she had with Mr. Shenoster while he and his wife were on a break. But Mr. and Ms. Shenoster are convinced the baby isn't his.
Okay, we were married. He lies, and he will lie and say that we wasn't.
Who married us?
Can I talk?
Can I see the
Can
paperwork?
I talk? What paperwork? I ripped it up. I ripped it up. I'm
You
not
ripped it
talking.
up.
Where were you? Where were you when I got married?
So Ms. Brown and Mr. Shenoster didn't just have an affair, they were married. But how do you marry someone while separated from your wife, then remarry your wife? Also, why is Mr. Shenoster denying this so-called marriage? It seems so complex that we need more details.
We meet, we get married. That's how it go. Yes.
Then to
you're
be clear,
supposed
this
to.
is not a we think about through the state where you go to the, it's not that, it's a marriage within the religion.
Yes, ma'am.
Now it makes sense. The marriage in question was more of a virtual agreement than anything else, which is why Mr. Shenoster can easily deny it ever happened. Honestly, who can blame him? Can such a marriage truly be considered real?
She was living in a shelter at the time.
You're a lie, never.
Hold up. She was living in a
not.
shelter at the time. She was
not.
about to move into her
not.
apartment. She said, come down so we can meet. 8 guys on her step. When I walked in, she said, here's your Abu. Abu is father.
Mr. Shenoster claims that Ms. Brown seduced him and that they never really had a relationship. It only lasted 2 days, and that was it. But here's the real question. If Ms. Brown insists on being married to someone before getting intimate with them, how does she already have 3 kids? Had she been married before? Or is the whole marriage thing just a wild story?
I found out months and months later that she was pregnant.
Contacting you.
Why would you stop contacting your husband?
Because you put him out on Facebook. You decided that you wanted to leave.
You married me and had sex with me on weekend. Why would you stop talking to me? I know the sex was good.
Because I did.
Oh, these women are ready to fight. Can you blame them? When a woman shows up claiming to have your husband's child, you're not going to take it lightly. And when a woman manipulates her husband into denying your child, it can be frustrating.
I had to call her sister Kay's phone to talk to her. Kay told me that she couldn't speak to me at the time. She says her boyfriend is here. It's the man that she's talking about, which is the same man that's on her Facebook profile picture with the baby.
There's another man in the picture whom Mr. Shenoster suspects is the real father of Ms. Brown's daughter. He claims to have seen this man when he went to visit her, and her Facebook profile picture even shows this man with her daughter. Sure, Mr. Shenoster has reasons to doubt, but Ms. Brown's point is also valid. She's with this other man, and he shows up for her daughter too. It makes sense that they have a family picture on her Facebook.
And then he wondered why when I finally talked to him, I have the hatred I have towards him. Because if you want to keep it between me, let's go there. I'm grown. I can handle that. Your Honor, would you not take the care? That's what a stepfather is. When you step down, they step up.
He's doing what he's supposed to do as a father.
Oh, okay.
Wow, calling the baby ugly? That is extreme. If you don't believe the child is yours, that is fine. But calling the child ugly? That's unnecessary, and only tells us about the kind of person Mr. Shenoster is. We can now see why Ms. Brown is this angry.
Oh, you say he accepted the baby. You submitted evidence to the court. You submitted text messages that say, Ms. Brown, you respond, I love you too. Why are you thanking me? Laugh out loud. Mr. Shenoster says, for carrying my child. Thank you.
What is the problem with this man? Has he been lying all this time? He's made us believe that he never thought the child was his. But here's evidence that once upon a time, he never doubted she was his daughter, meaning his wife successfully convinced him to deny the baby.
You said you never married her.
I never married her.
So why you say good-looking husband?
Unwisely.
You stuttering now.
Yeah, a little bit.
So let's just say we know you lying.
Wait, what I'm lying about?
At some point, you're lying about the fact that you gave this woman an intention to believe that you all were married.
What am I lying about?
Now that we know he lied about 2 major things, getting married to Miss Brown and acknowledging her child was his, it's impossible to believe every other thing he has said. He could have lied about seeing a lot of men on her steps and seeing her boyfriend around when he visited.
Hey! Let me tell you something. No, let me tell you something.
You called me a liar.
You flaring up? This message just illuminates. Hold on. When your wife stood here and she testified to the fact over and over again.
He's upset because he was called a liar. Ha ha, mister. You sure are one. He's lied to himself, to Ms. Brown, to his wife, and now to the court. What else do you want to be called? A saint?
Any man,
answered the phone and told me that that's not my daughter. This is the same man and told me that was not my daughter. Do not contact them. That he's going to take care of her.
Your Honor.
You're saying that this man was on the phone with you.
He answered the phone,
and so
that didn't happen, Ashley.
No. How could you see somebody coming in my house from Philadelphia?
So how I ain't see him?
So this boyfriend had warned Mr. Shenoster not to contact Ms. Brown or the baby because the baby was his. That's a curve in the story we're not willing to explore. Let's find out what the results say already.
Mr. Shenoster, you are the father. That's your baby. That's a beautiful little girl. She deserves her daddy.
According to Ms. Jackson, only a fool would believe that Ms. Pickins' daughter, Shazia, is her granddaughter. Ms. Jackson is stepping in for her incarcerated son to contest Shazia's paternity. However, Ms. Pickins points out that these allegations are new because originally she had accepted her daughter.
Let me remind you, this child was already 4 months old. I never even heard of this young lady.
You don't have a relationship with your son.
Yes, I do.
Get the order, ladies.
Yes.
Miss Pickins, I'm gonna come to you, but I want to understand.
Ms. Pickins showed up at Ms. Jackson's house with a 4-month-old to announce that her daughter belonged to Ms. Jackson's son. But according to Ms. Jackson, she had never even heard of Ms. Pickins before that day. That must have been a huge shock to her.
How many guys were you sleeping with?
2.
She don't know. She don't know. She
When
don't
I
know.
met him, I had a boyfriend.
Exactly.
Me and the boy stopped.
So she also said she was
Will these women calm down? Ms. Pickins was with multiple partners at the same time, so it's understandable that Ms. Jackson has doubts. But why would you be messing around with another guy every single day while you were in a relationship?
And I asked the questions, you answer them, okay? Talk to me.
I will. Sorry.
Understandably, this situation, nobody wants to find themselves.
Good one, Judge Lauren. They have to stop yelling at each other if they want this case to come to a reasonable conclusion. Let's keep going.
Not that guy, it's Miss Jackson's son. When did you change your mind and why?
So
when you say he pursued you, you meant when you had this baby.
Yes.
Okay. So, Ms. Pickins has been playing the guessing game ever since she found out about her pregnancy. She initially thought the baby belonged to the other guy she'd been going out with after the affair with Ms. Jackson's son was over, but later changed her mind because Ms. Jackson's son had pursued her and wholeheartedly accepted the baby as his.
When you met Shazia,
Yeah, but you spend more time with your other
Because your
grandchild.
child is not mine.
But I'm just saying, if my daughter was not yours, what grown woman?
Because my son is claiming this is his child.
Oh, Ms. Jackson is angry. She really did invite Ms. Pickins and her daughter over, but claims she only did that because her son accepted the child was his. She didn't, and she hasn't still. She doesn't see the resemblance Ms. Pickins says is there. She just wants the results to prove her right.
you don't have a grandmother connection.
No.
Meaning when you look at the baby, you
I
don't
do
have
not.
that feeling
Exactly.
that
This is my grandchild. I have 2 grandchildren that I love dearly and take very good care of them.
Other than
Because
grand
too.
So,
if her
other
baby was
than
just
grandmother's
born,
instinct,
And not
what
only that,
else?
she had several men.
Some of Ms. Jackson's reasons are understandable, but grandma instincts? Never heard that one before. How do you expect to feel connected to a child whose mother you obviously dislike and are repeatedly trying to prove wrong? And what is this about Ms. Pickins faking a pregnancy?
Lie about
Yes,
a second
I did.
pregnancy.
Yes, I was kind of hurt. I was kind of hurt. Yes, I did lie. That I
No.
lied. Yes,
We
you
found
did.
out because we
no,
called the
no,
hospital.
No,
And there was no such-
Why did you lie?
Yes, I did lie because I was kind of hurt. I was.
She said she had an abortion.
But you now have to understand why your
Yes.
credibility is about
Yeah,
shot.
I know.
Miss Pickins took her revenge plot too far, lying about a pregnancy and then claiming you had an abortion? What kind of revenge is that? How do you do this and expect the man and his family to trust you?
I want to understand your position.
Okay.
And why you are certain was fathered by Miss Jackson's son.
To me, she looked just like hair, eyes. She does looks like this little boy done lived with me. I had a picture of Kevin, her.
You feel like
and
they
believe
look
me, let me
alike.
tell you
What
something.
else?
I got 4 daughters.
This is so messed up. Miss Pickins is only 19, and yet she's involved in all this drama. And then, Miss Jackson is a grandmother of 3 at just 37? These people are going too fast, sleeping with anybody and popping out babies like they are the easiest thing to make in the world.
My son, he did say that this is his child, but a woman should know who the father of her child is. It's for you to know. And I have told Markel over and over again, we could have been had this resolved, and I would take in that child. But I don't believe in my heart, Your Honor, and I'm not wrong, but I feel like this child is mine.
Truly, Ms. Jackson isn't wrong for thinking Shazia isn't her granddaughter, and Miss Pickins cannot put the paternity of her child on a man just because he says he is her father. It does not work that way. It's good that she's ready to accept Shazia if she's proven to be hers, though.
Trying to understand, you're his current girlfriend,
Yes.
and you have a child
Correct.
with him.
Correct.
You didn't know of Miss Pickins
At all.
Could Miss Jackson and Aaliyah be right? Is Miss Pickins more concerned about their relationship than her child's paternity? We may never know the answers to these questions, but we do know what the DNA results say. Let's find out.
Mrs. Jackson, you are not her grandmother.
Got you. You God. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Mama, she just came out.
Ms. Cherry has never seen Mr. Johnson until today, yet she's certain he is her father. Mr. Johnson has his doubts, but understands how important this is to her, which is why he's here in court today. Let's hear from Ms. Cherry.
I was adopted, within family, so I know who my mother is and everything, but I was adopted within family. Certain family members have always...
That is awful. I can't even imagine, Miss Cherry, what you've gone through having to hear.
This is so sad. Nobody wants to hear such a thing. It's the kind of thing that breaks down a person's spirit, telling them their parents abandoned them because they don't love them. After so many years, Ms. Cherry is here to get the closure she needs to move forward from the past hurt.
First of all, very sympathetic to Jennifer, her journey, things that were told to me over the years. There was a member of family who came later on and told me that they found out that I was not the father.
It's been an emotional roller coaster for Mr. Johnson. First, he was told he was the father, then told he wasn't. No wonder he was never sure enough to be part of Ms. Cherry's life. And for her, it's been a long time without a father. She's 33 years old.
My girlfriend was also pregnant and she had left to go to Ohio. Jennifer's mother sent someone from the neighborhood with a note saying that she wanted to sleep with me and she was in love with me.
Interesting way to hook up. Smooth, too. The fact that they had been together for only one night must be one of the reasons Mr. Johnson didn't and still doesn't believe he is Ms. Cherry's father.
Pregnant, do you find out?
Yes, I found out through the neighborhood. People in the neighborhood just were coming up to me and telling me, congratulations on your daughter, and I was saying, I'm having a son.
Oh, so then did you get wind of the fact that they were talking about Miss Cherry's mother?
Mr. Johnson admits he had unprotected sex with Miss Cherry's mother, Dee Dee, but didn't believe she was pregnant for him because of the mismatched timeline. He knew one woman was pregnant for him, though, and that was his girlfriend.
Well, I went to the hospital to visit my son who had been born, and when I got to the hospital, someone had said, are you here to see your daughter?
So again, you're getting this same feedback, like you have a daughter.
It does seem harsh that Mr. Johnson never even came to see the baby, but in his defense, he says by then he was told the baby wasn't his, and they claim to already know who the father was. If this unnamed family member really knew the identity of Ms. Cherry's real father, why did they stay silent all these years? That's the part that doesn't add up.
Not pursuing the opportunity to truly find out if Miss Cherry's your biological daughter.
Yes, I actually do regret it, but I did try to reach out and find them. They said I would have to pay $700.
So Mr. Johnson eventually regretted his actions and tried to find Ms. Cherry and run a DNA test, but couldn't afford to. But a different version of the story was told to Ms. Cherry, which is that Mr. Johnson and her mom signed over their parental rights to her adoptive family. But guess what? Mr. Johnson says he never signed any such thing. Somebody is lying here. Which of them is it?
I did a DNA ancestry and it linked me to cousins or anything like that. So they asked me for the name. They came literally 10 minutes. It was like, we couldn't find anyone with that spelling, but we found someone.
After all these years, Mr. Johnson finally sees some resemblance between them. But let's be honest, it's not like he ever tried to notice before. He never put in the effort to find her, while she spent so long searching for him. For Ms. Cherry, finally finding him must have been such an emotional moment.
That she was my child and that probably needs someone someday to say that they care.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I don't believe he ever cared.
Mrs. Cherry doesn't believe Mr. Johnson's pity story. If he had cared enough, he would have made an effort to find her at least, and not ship her off to family members as an adopted child.
I'm so sorry you had to grow up without a father, and I'm willing to do DNA for you, but I believe 99% you are. I've always waited for you to contact me. Wow. Mr. Johnson, this doesn't sound doubtful. This says you believe 99%.
You've been waiting her whole life for her to contact you? What does that even mean? Couldn't you have contacted her? All of a sudden, because of some Facebook picture, you believe she's yours and are down for a DNA test. We can't but feel for Ms. Cherry, who's had to go through all of these because her parents were careless.
I'm so sorry.
And, my child questions who my parents are. She knows who her parents are. She knows who her grandparents are from her dad. So when she's questioning me and say, well, Mommy, where's your mom and dad at? What's your parents' names? Why don't we ever go see them when we go back?
What an emotional and mature exchange. It's time to find out if these two are father and daughter with 3 decades of catching up to do. The results are in.
Mr. Johnson, you are not the father. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I was hoping to get closure for you today, Miss Cherry. You are so deserving and worthy